and welcome to the podcast for William Faulkner. William Cuthbert Faulkner was an American novelist and short story writer. He lived from 1897 to 1962. When he accepted the Nobel Prize in 1949, he said that the subject of the literary artist is the human heart in conflict with itself. And I think that you can see that quote in work in his narratives, in particular the story that we read, That Evening Sun. In Faulkner's work, he had more than 20 novels. He carried many of his characters through different phases of their life. He showed how the heart is in conflict with itself and how this can bring about violence, guilt, bigotry, and even disrupt the life of entire communities. He is also saturated with Southern legend and ancestral stories of the Civil War. He pictured the American South as in a condition of stasis, a condition that is unaware of changed times, and it feeds on the old memories and it is atrophied by old hurts. He was born in Mississippi. His great-grandfather had served in 2 wars and built a railroad. He had great empathy for horses and horsemanship. His first book of poems appeared in 1924. He signed it Faulkner, even though his family name was Faulkner without the U. He held various jobs. He went to the University of Mississippi. He traveled abroad, and he even worked in a bookshop. He really did focus on modern experimentation, and he really liked Joyce. He used forms and techniques needed to express the Southern myth, and in 1929 he wrote his most difficult and most admired novel, The Sound and the Fury, which put his readers into the stream of consciousness of 2 brothers, but also attempted to render a sensory world of a 3rd brother who had a mental defect. As I Lay Dying is also comprised of a series of subjective monologues. His most realistic novel is Light in August, and he did write a number of short stories and following of various families such as the Snopes through their life. He is an intuitive artist. He latched on the technical devices of his time. He enlarged them and perfected them. He gave great voice to the inarticulate, and he did not hesitate to use the poetry of language to express even ideas that were a little bit beyond expressing. His methods of narration included tendency to envelope rather than to develop his story. Often he begins a story at the end and then told it against chronological time. He often told 2 or more stories, seemingly unconnected and going back many years at the same time. In his stream of consciousness portions, he utilized italics to convey different phases of thought. He often prefers to let the reader deduce certain events rather than to relate them. In his fiction, there is a wedding of a formidable technique to the rich elemental material from which he drew his subjects. He is one of America's most serious and most highly respected artists of the first half of the 20th century. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns about William Faulkner, please feel free to contact me.